SSV is really a distributed infrastructure for Ethereum. We used to be highly focused on just staking, but now we kind of actually expanded because we believe that Ethereum validators have a bigger a role to play in the greater Ethereum ecosystem. SSV, in a gist, is really a distributed infrastructure for Ethereum. We've launched at the beginning of 2024 with our DVT product, which is distributed validators. The idea that we can take an Ethereum validator, split it up into independent operators, and those operators coordinate and then run the validator on SSV. And if you do that at scale, you really can decentralize in a robust way the Ethereum staking infrastructure. DVT was a product of research by the Ethereum Foundation, and around 4 years ago took it and made it into a protocol. And so we've launched that at the beginning of 2024 and grew quite rapidly. Today, SSV has 11% of all Ethereum validators. So more than roughly every 1 to 10 validators are SSV validators, 4 million ETH. So that's quite a chunk of Ethereum. And as we built it and scaled it at the beginning of the year, we actually announced something called based apps, or the idea that validators can actually do much more. They're probably the biggest asset Ethereum has there because they quite literally are Ethereum, if you think about it. They can do more. If you look back in history with things like MEV, for example, it's a service. It's a type of service that validators are offering, but it's not hard-coded anywhere. It's not really part of the Ethereum core, but it is nonetheless a very, very prominent service. And now we're seeing that with things like based sequencing or based rollups and pre-confirmations. We strongly believe that Ethereum validators can do much more than they do today, and then obviously generate additional rewards back to the validators. And so with based rollups, based apps kind of being the future of what we think staking is, SSV is becoming this kind of distributed infrastructure for Ethereum, not just for staking, but rather things like based rollups, for example, which are kind of the scaling arm of Ethereum as well. And so that's kind of how I would describe SSV.
So when you think about the near-term and then long-term implications of DVT specifically, how do you think about that sort of horizon? What is the big impact in the short term? And then in the most wildly successful version of that future, what do you think DVT sort of looks like and what are the implications of that?
I think DVT is the longer term future of staking. I think most of stake will be DVT based the next 2 to 5 years. So today we have around 11%. Our competitors have maybe 1 or 2 additional percentages. So I think in the next 2 to 5 years, that will be the majority of staking on DVT. It just makes sense. And also performance is better and so on. In general, I think DVT can then play an additional role in the world of pre-confirmations and based rollups. I think that is kind of the connective tissue between staking and Ethereum scaling. And so if validators can play a role in actually securing and sequencing for rollups, then you have this vertically integrated stack that can do anything from the staking level all the way to the transaction processing, and then obviously play a major role in scaling Ethereum. And so that's super interesting. And I think SSV will play a major role in that.
And you talked about 11% of all Ethereum validators are using DVT and specifically SSV today. When you think about what types of staking or stakers or users are leveraging DVT today, how would you describe those constituencies? Are we talking about institutions? Are we talking about individuals? Like, who makes up the current cohort of folks that are leveraging the technology today? And then what is your view of how that expands over the next, let's call it 1 to 2 years?
I would say you'll see a similar distribution as you'll see in kind of the general staking ecosystem. So you'll have anything from solo stakers all the way to liquid staking protocols, exchanges, institutions in general, and so on and so forth. And so the distribution is quite similar in that sense. I think that there are opportunities for stakers on SSV that are potentially not there as a solo staker just because you're in a network. And if that network enables extra things to be done, then you can tap into that as a solo staker. But yeah, we see every type of operator or validator you can think of.
And do you see anything that is an accelerant or force multiplier on DVT adoption that people don't talk a lot about?
Rewards play a major role in staking and in anywhere, right? I mean, but in staking in general, because staking is so commoditized and also has a decreasing property to it, the more stakers there are, stakers are always looking for this extra edge. And so incentives play a major role in growth. And also that's why we focus so much on based applications as kind of the future of SSV, because with based applications, we're hoping to create this marketplace of opportunities for validators to opt in with their validator, do extra things for example, sequence rollups or provide pre-confirmations and stuff like that, and get extra rewards out of it. Those extra rewards, if they are unique to SSV, can really attract more validators to SSV, and the flywheel effect is quite strong.